I talked to my mom just briefly a couple nights ago. She was struggling. Her chest is pain, her back is pain. My understanding it is a heart issue. She does really need to see the doctor, but good luck to find any doctors because the good ones left the country. I recorded our conversation because reality, be honest, I do not know if I can hear her voice next time.
You recorded your mother because you're afraid you may not hear her voice again.
Yes, and then she's still saying that doesn't matter that they're still willing to even sacrifice themselves. Just make sure that this regime doesn't exist.
Welcome to the East Anchorage Book Club. I'm your host, Andrew Gray. The purpose of this podcast is to tell the stories of Alaskans of interest and importance. Today, our guest is Samu El Bayani Neek. Sam was born and raised in Tehran, Iran. At the age of 12, his parents divorced and he had to drop out of junior high school to begin working as a barber. During this tumultuous period, he discovered a church in Tehran and converted to Christianity. Under Iran's Islamic regime, a Muslim who abandons Islam can be punished by death. At the age of 20, Sam fled to Turkey, where he lived for about 5 years, waiting for his refugee application with the United Nations to be processed. In 2009, he moved to Anchorage as a refugee, where he had to learn English, his sixth language, and where he has been ever since. This interview was spontaneous, and I had to record it with my phone, and there is no editing software in the world that can make the quality good enough. That said, Sam's story is worth sticking with it. I'm so sorry about the audio quality. Samu El Bayani Neek, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about your early life. You were born in Iran.
I born and raised in Tehran, in Iran. And
After the fall of the Shah?
yes, that is correct. My generations are known as an ash generations because we born right after that revolution. We born during that 8 years war.
The 8-year war with Iraq.
With Iraq, I born 81. I haven't seen the eras of the Shah time, but what I understand from my own family's memories and then like the talking after like the dinners or the gatherings, all I remember during the Shah of Iran, the things was much, much better. When I grew up in Iran, in our schools, it was very strict. And then because of the Islamic Revolution, as more of those top religion leaders become authorities, operators, and controlling the medias and influencing the religion opinion for the punishment. And then from there, I have seen many things. Thank God I was being privileged to grow up raised in the liberal, open-minded, educated family that they were not conservative. Everyone back home who are born as an Iranian, they just straight concerned as a Muslim born, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're practicing Islam.
So I want to talk about your family being more liberal. I know that when the Shah, at the time of the revolution, people who sympathized with the Shah, many of them were killed. Like, it was really dangerous to be supportive of the Shah. So people had to say that they supported the Ayatollah Khomeini.
During the after revolutionaries, the families who had basically roots in the capital city, like my family, well-known families, like they had opportunity to get along with the government. They didn't work for the government. Like my father, he was basically fired because he technically was not working as he was working during Shah of Iran. He used to be the electrical technician for the Air Force. During his time, his team were able to do more job fixing the aircrafts, engineering, electrician things. But when the revolution, the government changed, and most of those people, they didn't have any desire to work for the new operation or cooperating, though taking the land by practicing the religion. My father was basically ignoring and not following. So it did end up to losing his job. For the 8 years of the war, the system, they did clean up, basically neutralize the whole system branches who is going to hold the job. And many people died during the 8 years of the war.
What did your dad do after he was no longer working for the Air Force?
He lost, he get into very deep depression. He was not able to even reach under his retirement leave. Those beneficiaries that are given, everything was taken, even the land he had. So he stopped working self-employed, independent, doing the project electrician for buildings, those projects that's how I learned to do electrician, because
Able to support his family still.
he was able to support his family, but the damage was already done because that did affect his personality. He get depressed. He get into the things that he shouldn't, and then affect the quality of the family. Later on, divorce, and then the side effects is going to the kids. And
You have a brother?
yeah, we are four brothers.
Four of them. So how old were you when your parents got a divorce?
I was pretty young. I was teenager, 12, 13.
And did you stay with your mother?
No, unfortunately not. My mom herself, what I am today because of her. I have seen her, how she was strong during the tough time after divorce, not having anything. She started her own life from nothing. In that type of society at that point, everything was old fashioned. And then it was very bad thing for the many of the families if the female get divorced. But she survived. She was able to become very successful.
Like as a businesswoman?
She became a hairstylist. She became instructor. She's a tough cutter. And then she's a fighter. I learned from her to stand up for myself. I learned from her how to survive in the tough time. Maturity is something, even at an age of the 44, I'm still getting mature.
So did all four of your brothers stay with your dad? Is that how it works?
The younger brother mostly stayed with my mom because he was youngest. And back home, having the kid, male, a boy, is easier. My mom, she said if she had a baby girl, that was going to be very difficult for her to divorce. But my father was not able to handle the life anymore, especially after losing his job, and then change his life, become violent, become depressed, and then putting all those pressures on his own family. And then my mom, she had just too much.
Did you know other people at school that had divorce, or was divorce very rare?
Well, when I grew up, it was rare. I think now it's completely common.
But we started talking before we started recording, and I just want to talk a little bit about that, about basically post-World War II, when, or was it post-World War I? I give them, when the British left and Iran was basically...
That was World War I. British left the Persian Gulf, and then after they left, it was a new country. Saudi Arabia was
a new country. I just read King of Kings, which is about the Shah by Scott Anderson.
The Shah and his father.
And his father.
Yes.
And they talked about the alliance with Israel, the choices of sort of Russia and the United States kind of participating and controlling Iran, and the Shah sort of trying to be friends with everybody. And it was kind of a surprise to think that Iran was being treated like this weak country that didn't really have a say in things, was trying to be controlled by these other players. But especially the idea that Iran and Israel were somehow in alliance together against other countries in the Middle East.
The Shah's administration, what's it called, the prime minister, he was actually Jewish. If you look at back in Iran, the history, the culture, as I said, is mixed with the many different variety of the cultures. Christian, Judaism, Islam, Sunnis, Shias, non-religion practitioners. Now I can tell you probably 50% of the Iranian people do not practice religion. It doesn't mean there's like the anti-religion. And then Iran, it is the one of the country in Middle East to compare with the rest of the Arab nations. It has the highest population of the Jewish people. We do have actually in their Congress, Iranian Congress, they do have representative from the Jewish communities. There is the Knesset temple. And
There's Jewish people serving.
They're serving and they're living in Iran with no problem. There are many of the good business, successful people, Jewish operation in Iran, and they collide with the Iranian leaders as well too. They're working behind the stage together.
What you said earlier is that so much of what we see is a performance.
It is just a performance, just a show. Because when you look at reality, when you go to the Iran, people, they do not have problem with other nations. People, they do not have problem with their neighbors, with their jobs. Those problem has been seeded, unfortunately, of the propaganda religion institute that it's just about fear, keeping the society separated, divided, and giving the benefit more to the rulers.
And so I guess to kind of put a point on it, when you talked about how it was the wrong way to do it, to assassinate the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Ali Khamenei, as my opinion, I am happy because my generation, we were not dreaming that the supreme leader is going to be gone in our lifetime. But that thing,
it's just something you accepted as a reality.
It's a reality. They have so much power, they have so much control over Iran. It's very difficult. But the question is, by cutting off the head of the leaders, what we are going to do is rest of them, because after 5 decades, they had some followers, and those followers, they're justifying everything as the point of the religion. And then they are so cruel for killing others, they believe they can go in the heaven. It is sad what we have today. War should not be a solution, because Jesus himself said, if they slap you, turn the other ones. He never advised to hate neighbor, to kill neighbor. Hate is not the solution. But in this point, back home, Iranian people, they did support that, and they were waiting. But at the same time, they didn't expect that it's going to be opening different Pandora boxes.
Right.
And then these Pandora boxes, when it get open, it will go to the dark ages for the endless civil war.
What I heard you saying earlier is that the people have a learned helplessness because of
all these events. And then every time Iranian people, the majority of the big liberal cities who are trying to exercise their rights and then speak up, it looks like every time they have been ignored, minimized, and then that how over time it takes away the confidence from the people, and people become in that conspiracies that doesn't matter what we do, the people who are operating the business behind the stage, they're always the one who get the benefit. And now the Iranian people, they do not have gun in their hand. They do not have power. The Iranian regime, they still have influence by their militia groups. They're still doing what is the best for them to maintain the power. To me, they should put down the gun for the sake of the people, for the sake of the country. They should surround it, because what they're doing, it doesn't go anywhere. What I'm trying to say, it doesn't matter who is doing it. Either side, the both are doing the wrong thing.
Well,
and just escalating the situation for those individual groups to justify their behaviors against their own nation.
Before the war, How often did you speak to your family?
Every day. Every day. I talked to my mom just briefly a couple nights ago. She had to call on those internet calls, and those are all basically get into through the filter. I really cannot say the things on the phone.
Because you know it's being listened to.
Yes, and then it could jeopardize my mom's own safety. So a couple nights ago when I talked to her on the phone, she was struggling. She's sick. She got very cold. And at the same time, she had been traumatized, which as my understanding observation is she does really need to see the doctor, but good luck to find any doctors because the good ones left the country. And my mom just a few nights ago that by observing the sky and then like seeing all those actions on the sky, and then suddenly it was a huge explosion somewhere near. That explosion noise shocked her, and then at the same time she get traumatized, and now looks like she have a heart condition. Her chest is pain, her back is pain. My understanding it is a heart issues, but she cannot go anywhere. My understanding from my mom is, she said on the phone, I recorded our conversation because reality, be honest, I do not know if I can hear her voice next time.
So I just wonder that you recorded your mother because you're afraid you may not hear her voice again.
Yes, I just recorded her voice, and then she's still saying that doesn't matter. The people, the majority of the people, they're still willing to even sacrifice themselves. Just make sure that this regime doesn't exist. They are doing everything to save their own next generation because they have seen enough what the religion leaders coming in the power do to their nations. And then they don't want to have that for their next generation. My concern is seeing the death rising, and then of course the casualties will be the both sides. But in that country, it will be more, honestly. The casualties from bombing, from the instructions, buildings, highways, those are separate. But the concern of the death rates is from the medications, electricities. My grandmother, she's diabetic. She had a lot of the health issues. And then many of those pharmaceutical has been limited, but now they do have something on the shelf. But in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, everything's going to be out. The food is already has been concerned. How long we can go, it shows that they get just hungry and then looks like they're going to starve to death. And then I'm afraid to say the number of that casualties will be greater than the number of people who have been died in the military operation because many of the nation need go to see the doctors. We are talking about like 10 million people in Tehran. Around Tehran, include Tehran around it, it will be almost like 15 to 18 million people. I guess that people are asking how far we are going. My aunt in Frankfurt, she was a total supporter of the President Donald Trump from beginning. But now she was on the phone with a very depressed voice was saying what he mean about putting Iran back to the Stone Age. That is offensive. He promised to help us. We are worried about our families. I do not know what to tell her. It is, yes, sending that nation back to the Stone Age, that what we are going to prove is going to be more chaos, or is painful for the both nation. Everyone's going to pay the price one or other ways, and especially for us. And I'm telling you, the Iranian nation, they do not hate American nation. That is something politics has been started 5 decades ago, just on the stage to prevent unity. As you point out, we were closest allies to the United States. at one point.
Your three brothers are in Iran.
All of them are in Iran. My twin brother, he's having his episode. Many of the young generations are really, really struggling. It's very painful to watch them. When I left Iran was 2005. Now it's 2026. 21 years. But the things back home hasn't changed. The population has doubled.
Do your brothers have wives and children?
One of them, my older brother, younger, he has a girlfriend. My twin brother, no. And then the economy back home, especially for the economy in the past couple months, since last year the first attack, it was the first 12 days. That also put harm in the economy. And then the sanctions that we had on the Iranian regime, it didn't work. It's just against their nation. So we practice one tactic as a sanction for a couple decades. It shows that those rulers are just using the way to get out of it. It seems like they're getting more feeded from Russia and China. But that's why the majority of the Iranian people, especially in the big cities, more liberal, educated communities, are wise people. They're having rich history, and they do have respect their neighbors. They love different cultures. They do not hate American. That is just a propaganda has been introduced since day one when the new regime took over. On their stage, they can say the same thing in many different languages.
Well, Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, is doing the same thing towards Iran.
Well, his justifications is worse things using the Christianity. I'm a Christian. I'm born as a Muslim. And then I exercised my right, as I said, because I was in the liberal, open-minded family. And then I did exercise. My roots, it is Zoroastrians. At that point, destiny actually guided me to one of the most unique church in Tehran. It's like more than 300 years old. It is one of the oldest church, Peter. It's called Peter Church. It's a Protestant, but what I learned in that body, it was love, peace, happiness. What our Secretary of the Defense are claiming using Christianity, justifying the unjustified action is insane. It is not the solution, just creating more hate. And then what I'm seeing, I have said that years ago. I came in this country and I was so happy when I came in this country after being in Turkey for 5.5 years under the refugee asylum. Christianity, my pastor was arrested.
So let's go back to when you were like 12 or 13. Your parents get a divorce. With your dad, you go to high school?
It didn't end it to the high school. I have to drop the school after divorce. The divorce.
Like you dropped out of school?
Parents, because I was not able to focus. And then I literally grew up in the basically violence. It was lots of the violence at that point.
So you were like in a very unstable home.
Unstable communities. So my father was not paying attention. Anyhow, long story short, what I'm trying to say is Jesus Christ, what he wanted for his nation is just love, peace, happiness.
Did you find the church then?
Unstable communities make you wonder why these things happen, why I'm here, why I have to believe that and practice. At the school, you have Islamic religion courses, classes, and then it's a mandatory. And then if you're born, raised under the Iranian regime as a Muslim, and then religion is something is not choiceable. It is
enforced religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the class practicing and forcing to do so. If you're not, then you will lose the credit. And then I always wonder why the meaning of that. Why I have always something in my heart that wonder, and why I'm doing that, and what is the point? So, and then coming to the point, who is the God? Why God have to create such silly rules at the same time say, I'm here to help you. But on the other hand, I'm here to cut your head. I'm here to save you. But if you're not following me, if you're not pay this to that, I start lots of questions. If the God is like that, then why is saying this? That is a hypocrite. And then that does
Hypocrisy. Yeah.
Yes, it's a hypocrisy. Then I start wandering around. I get lots of the studies of the Zoroastrians, Baharis, Islam. I know about the Islam. I can read and write. I can there was the translate Farsi, Arabic to the Farsi. And then when I was reading it, all those things was nonsense to me. And then it doesn't matter which religion does. Any religion institute your vendor encouraging the nations to hate others. And the point is to divide the nation. And my blood didn't made to get along with that kind of ideologies. I was not able to expect that religion allows justifying to women to stone them, killing them by.
So they're still stoning women and cutting people's hands off?
Yes, and then believe it or not, those practice has become from the Old Testament. The Jewish tribes, they had those regulations, they still have, but we are not just hearing it today.
But in Islam uses the Old Testament.
Yes, Islam, Christianity, and
Judaism.
Judaism.
So you found the church.
I did found it.
How old were you when you found out what happened?
It's the same, like the 13, 14.
And did you just wander in, or did you meet somebody?
That church, I love it because every time I look at it, I can find myself in peace and get just relaxed. When I get there, was like the energy inside that is an old building that has a history. It tells you everything, and then I was able to read people's energy. I didn't see any person members who are serving the church at that point to be part of the propaganda. They were all truly part of the Christ. And then I remember going to the church even like 2-3 days a week, going to the other events.
So when you were doing that, what did your family think? Or were they supportive, or did you not tell them?
Well, I wasn't able to tell them for quite a long time. After quite a long time, I did tell them. They didn't have anything against me. Some of my father's family, which now they're okay.
But you were the only Christian in your family.
Yes.
And you basically told your family, I'm a Christian.
I take my mom, my brothers, my grandmother.
But you took them to visit the church?
We did go to the church because today, like the spring holidays, Easter.
Yeah.
I took them to the church. It was great. We did have the ceremony at that church. I think that was a Sunday. I have to be part of the core group, like singing, and then we were worshiping. So I was just telling them, make yourself home, do what you want. And then my mom, she's not practicing. She's not religious. Many people, they're born in Muslim, but they're not practicing Islam. My grandfather, from the older, he's respectful of his generation. Yeah, he was. But at the same time, when you look at them is like the liberal Muslim people.
So no one in your family was like
to cursing or the.
I would say something about Mutawa. He wasn't like
one of
strict Muslim.
You have to watch. You just have to make sure you're not crossing them. So one of those days, I was crossing we had argument. It was my cousin, and we were kids, and then they said, well, then I'm going to call the
religious police.
The IRGC.
Oh, like the Secret Service.
The religious.
Yeah, because the religious Secret Service.
And then I will influence you. I will let them know that you change your religion. And then that is the biggest punishment. They can kill you. So I have to make the peace. Other day, I remember, other event was like one of my other cousin, actually his brother. He slapped my face we would try to be bully, and then at the same point,
Because you had changed your religion?
well, we have some argument, and then he tried to be bully, and then we were in our aunt's house outside of the Tehran, and then in the kitchen. Well, I'm next to the kitchen, and then I have knife on my hand because I'm washing the dishes, and he slapped me because I was refusing something that he wanted, and then at that time, because I was practicing going to the classes, church, and I just remembered that message. I said, okay, you slap. I turned my face and then I said, slap is fine. That simple practice, it did work perfectly because as soon as I say that, his reaction, motion was interesting. He was just frozen. And
Because he wanted you to fight.
And then with the shameful face, he just left the kitchen. So I start practicing the same thing that I'm not practicing the violence that I learned from the Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a common ground. If I'm towards peace to my opposition, the solution outcome will be very mindful. But if I go violence towards my opposition, of course, nothing's going to be done. So you're just escalating the situation.
So you were in this unstable home, a violent home. You found the church. You were participating heavily in the church. Did you go back to school?
No, I did work in the barber shop in the streets.
When you were like 14, 15?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
So you started cutting hair?
Yes, because I dropped off the school, I was not able to go catch up. And then because of all this traumatization, as I said, the casualties were left to those young societies, which I was one at that point.
Did your brothers stay in school?
No.
They all dropped out?
Yes, because it's a huge distraction when you're not having the peaceful mind and then seeing the parents always non-stop fighting, and then you end up becoming a divorced family. So,
but I mean, here it's against the law. Like you have to have your kids to school, but there it was okay for your kids not to go to school?
Well, at that point when I grew up, it was okay. It was common practice. And then the government actually using that because the more people getting out of the education system means like more dumb people you have. So
they like that.
That is the type of the blueprint to keep your society poor, sick, and uneducated. All they have done in past few decades by targeting the nation, how to starve them, how to keep them unhealthy, how to keep them uneducated by using the education department, healthcare department, etc. But for their own, they're sending their own.
So their own kids are going to school.
They're going to the best university in the United States, in England.
So they're making sure that their own kids are educated.
Yes. Yes.
And have good health care.
Yes, everything.
Everything. Hey, so how did you get to Turkey? And what was that decision like?
Well, after quite time of being in the church, then I was, probably 18, 19. I have to basically leave everything behind and I left the country. The reason was at one of those events back the time, me and my friend at the church, we were activists. I was openly talking a subject of religion, subject of politics. I had the big mouth, let's say that point. And then many of our church leaders, they were worried.
About how much you were talking?
And then because not only that, the reason I have to leave because my own pastor, he was arrested. And then for the 1 week or so, he was in the interrogation facilities. And then somehow we understood that during the worshiping that we have some classes during the weekday besides Sundays, and then we had invite young people to our church. Apparently, some of those they were part of the
IRJC.
yes. And then they were coming acting very normal, girlfriend, boyfriend, but later on we found out that both were agents.
Spies.
And then they exposed us. And then because of it, our church operation for the worshiping was shut down.
What were some of the things that you said that they heard that you weren't allowed to say?
Oh, you're not allowed to have critical thinking. You're not allowed to think different. You're not allowed to question it.
Well, I think it's interesting because obviously it's a church, so you're not going to be teaching Islam there. So I'm curious about
Okay. So for the government itself, they are so insecure and they're so afraid to see their own people going to the different institute and learning new things. For the government, their belief is if you are Muslim under that nation, they believe if you change your religion, your punishment is death because their God is allowing them. There is the message translated in Farsi from their holy book, Quran. And then when you read it and you translate it, it literally says that God gave them that permission.
Right. So basically, anybody who's at that church who was born in Iran and raised as a Muslim who's now in a Christian church, they could be put to death.
No, that church, everyone, they were major generation of the Christian. Many of those
Okay,
born,
so they were born Christian.
yes, born Christian or they were Christian during the Shah of Iran.
Yeah.
And then when the regime changed, the regime cannot do anything with these people.
But you are not like that.
I was Baptist secretly. We were doing our events.
And did you know that that was the risk of death?
Yes. And then I see everything like movie in my life. It's like I have been ordered to be in those lines. And when I was told from my own administration after my pastor was church, it was to say, oh, it is not safe anymore that if we continue these things and then people like our people were going to the church.
Were there other folks like you who
Yes.
have been born Muslim?
Yes. All of them have to left. And many of us have been told by our own administrations back to the church in order to not put the administration's member life in danger or the church in jeopardy. Because for each church, the government, the revolution guards, they do have insiders, people who have to work, as in the doorman, the guy who is watching the properties. They're all working for the government, and they're releasing all those databases for the reason we have told that not going to the church, at least for the few weeks, and then whenever I was going, I have to speak Arabic or Arabic because our church was like combination of Iranian or Syrian, and then we did have Korean.
So you couldn't speak Farsi because that would give you away.
Yes.
Do you speak Armenian?
I used to be back at home. Gosh. English became my sixth language, but since I've been this
So English is their sixth language.
And then when I came to this country, I started learning English, but when you're not practicing those old
Do you speak Turkish?
Turkish, it was Turkish and Kurdish, and I was in Turkey for 5.5 years. I had to learn that because I was also working. I have to pay on my life.
Well, yeah. So I guess what happened is they told you it wasn't safe anymore, and so they left to Turkey.
I have to leave. So I was guided by my own administration. I have to leave, and then
Travel by land?
Yes, travel by the land, and then it's illegal.
Yes. So you crossed the border illegally into Turkey.
Yes, technically. And then you have to pay to do
A mule to get you across.
And that was quite interesting ways to get out. I stayed in Turkey for 4.5 years.
And how old were you when you went to Turkey?
I was young. I have to look back.
Like 18?
Between 18 and 20.
And did you say goodbye to your family?
I had to say goodbye to them.
Have you ever seen those people again that you said goodbye to?
Say again?
Have you seen your family since?
I seen my mom and my brothers and sister-in-law, 9 years ago, I believe, in Turkey. We have a really small family reunion in the Turkey. At that point, it was quite like 10 years or more that I didn't see my brothers, my younger brother and my twin brother. When I was in Turkey, my mom and my older brother, they came visit me a couple times. My father couldn't, but again, the things I have seen, the things I have experienced, it was not only me. There is the many people like me. And then when I started working, when I came to the United States, I started working, making friends, I was telling them that people like me, we are like the people that are from the future, and we are the messenger. We have seen the worst scenario case, and then we try to say that our own fellow friends to not do it, but it's that same.
So in Turkey, did you work as a barber?
I did work at a barber. I have to because I didn't have any income. And in Turkey, on the refugee asylum or the camp, their government is not going to pay you. Of course, the Turkish government is going to charge you that nation for each refugee is $100 per month. They're not giving you any aid.
And were you with you were in Turkey with folks from your original church?
No. Refugee camps in Turkey is still calling it refugee camps, but there's no camps. You literally can stay in the small town.
And you just go out and do whatever.
But the thing is, you're there basically not the house arrested. You're literally like the city arrested. You cannot
leave the city
out anywhere. Every day you have to go to the authorities' office and then put the signature. That's a way
that you're still there.
They can analyze that people still there, and you cannot go anywhere.
And did you apply for asylum in the United States from there, or refugee status?
I did get through with the United Nations. The process of immigration coming in the United States is either regular immigration, which is involved with the marriage, business, students, visas. There's many different varieties of the visas, which is Homeland Security's FBI background check, and then all those operations doing it. But for the refugee asylum is a other part of the immigrations or coming directly from the United Nations. Those has been already cooperated the whole operation with the United States. The United States is one of those 4 countries. There are 4 countries expecting the refugees from the United Nations platform, refugee asylums application. And then there's Finland, Canada, United States, and Australia. I didn't choose here. My top was Canada. But again, destiny.
And you were sent to Anchorage?
I sent it to the United States Embassy. I just get known that it's going to be Anchorage, and then we have the classes and information, including the healthcare test, the fingerprint background check.
What did you think when they said you were going to Alaska?
I didn't have any other choice because at that point, I was done with the Turkey. I was like 26, 27. Anyhow, I came in Alaska, and then in Alaska, thank God, I was able to start my life over. I did go to the cosmetology school because my license barbershop was not translated. So I have to go to the whole cosmetology school, did become a hairstylist, did work for employer, and then did work as a self-employed. But as older as I get, I find out that is the time for me to go back to school. So, and then to get the...
So when you're going back to college, like you really dropped out of school in like 8th grade.
Back home?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's so hard.
It is hard. And trust me, before my parents get the divorce, before I get through not only me, I'm just a small fraction of the bigger numbers back home. When I was growing up, when I was in those schools, 5th, 6th, actually, me and other few students, we were actually top students at this school. I did have good scores. I was always being cheered up by the principals. Like one of the things, encouraging other students, bringing you on top of the line, giving the gift. as in praising the best students. But after the divorce of my parents and then the amount of the sadness I have been through, it was enough distraction for me because at the same time, I remember I have to be taking care of the house, cooking, cleaning. My mom was not there, so.
Did your dad die?
No, now he's still alive, but that is still bad. He had made most of the bad decisions in his life after losing his job. It was not good. He lost his soul during that time. It did affect how to raise the child. He was not paying attention. Now, again, in Iran, everything changed. So people are thinking differently. Now, people choose to have one or two kids because they know each of them costs a lot and they're taking priority of the responsibilities. And when I was born, that was not the fact, unfortunately.
So do you still communicate with your father?
Yes, it's still my father. I do not have anything against him. I wish that he was just much stronger to be a dad in his life, taking care of his kids. But it doesn't matter how much I have been beaten from him, but it's still my dad. I learned many things from him, electrician, welding, plumbing, things like that. That I am kind of a handyman. I can take care of myself today. Many things in the old time happen to the people as a purpose. I do talk to him. He's not in the good health. He's very bad condition. So that is my concern during the war zone. The casualties of death, it will get doubled.
When did you know you were gay?
Let's say when I start knowing myself before searching for better faith.
So when you were still in Iran, you knew?
Yes, because scientifically, genetics are very evolved.
Did you tell anybody when you were in Iran?
No, I still haven't said anything.
So your family doesn't know?
Even now, because people are judgmental, and people are basically still in the religion opinions bubble. They are not open-minded, or they believe that things is wrong, but it is not. Has been in the human societies for centuries.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. It is nothing wrong of that. We are all human.
Hey, so I was going to say, like, do they always ask you, do you have a girlfriend? Are you getting married?
Yeah. That's an old practice from all the religion institute. They're all even cultural.
But you're kind of blessed by your brother. Your twin brother is not married.
Cultural.
And your younger brother is also not married. So maybe it's not.
No. He has
a girlfriend.
Yes. But me and my twin brother, we have different genetics.
Do you think your twin brother is gay?
In closet. But he's in Tehran, but he is not willing to expect.
Have you talked about it with him?
Yes. I know what he wants. I know who I am, who he is, but back home is very difficult. Even here.
Is he Muslim?
No.
Does he regret not leaving with you?
Yes. But now it's too little too late. For me, I still think that it was a miracle. It was part of the destiny. Because living out of your own country by yourself, not the family, and then it's difficult. You get through a lot more traumatization. I was in Turkey, gun in my head. I had been beaten. One day I had literally close to get my own life day. Suicide attempt
in Turkey.
In Turkey, because of the pressures and seeing the things that it was very painful to see. But to me, immigrating new nations, I believe people should be young. People should be younger because when you go to the new nations, you have to learn English. You have to learn the culture, their language, and that was required to be a young. If I was older,
Of your age now.
in my age now, I was not going to survive. I was not going to be able to learn the basic English language that I know today. It's very difficult when you get older to adopt new cultures, new identities, new language. And that's why many of the younger generations, my own families, when they get older, there's not much confidence to encourage them to do so. Unless you're applying on the investment visa, which is you're required to have lots of money. I have my cousins, he's in the Spain, he's a very successful business operator.
And your aunt in Frankfurt.
As my aunt and her husband, they left Iran decades and decades ago. Both their kids born and raised in the Frankfurt. I have an aunt from my father's side, and his family, their empire, real estate company in Canada.
Is that why you wanted to go to Canada?
No. I thought in Canada that I can have better opportunity for education. When I came in the United States, I was not able to go to the school straight directly. And then I was told by the place manager, if you want to go to school, you have to work, save money, and go to school. And then that was not possible because when you come in by yourself, you have to pay all those things.
Rent and food.
And then the societies who are here in the United States from the different countries who live with the families on the same roof, they're able to use that opportunities because their families are working, they do not have much responsibility, then they're much easier for them to go. So for me, it took me a good 15 years, 16 years.
Because you're in school at UAA now.
Taking the diploma classes for the adult learning schools, things for the UAA. I tried a few years ago, but gosh, it's very expensive. It's super, super expensive. I'm just a few weeks close to it, to finish, and then hopefully from there, I can choose the
Degree program.
to the different career, building up the different career, because I look at myself in the mirror and then the picture of the old man
Still cutting hair.
and then renting apartment, that's not working. And then by knowing that the benefits is going to be very expensive, so providing yourself healthcare. So I work many years, I save as much as I can. Now I'm just finishing up.
What do you want your career to be? Your new career?
That's a good question. If I was younger, I'd choose go for the political science. Like political science, attorney, anything involved with the human rights. Time has changed. When you're getting older, the things are more difficult to reach.
Do you have Persian friends in Alaska?
Yes, we do have small Persian communities up here. Most of them have come here long ago.
Did you meet them when you got here, or did it take time to find them?
I met them when I got here. I met many of the good Persian, let's say Iranian friend. Persian, myself, I was calling Persian.
Yeah, what should I say?
But no,
Is it Iranian or Persian?
no, that's Iranian because Persian is coming from the Roman era.
Okay.
The Roman was the one who called that Persian Empire or Persian thing.
So let me rephrase that. Do you have Iranian friends here?
We do have Iranian friends. We do have quite good, intelligent communities, successful. But again, reality, everyone there have their things to do. Sometimes we're not getting in touch probably for months.
Do they know you're gay?
It's quite difficult. It doesn't matter how many years they've been in this country, but they still have that texture of the resistance in their blood, judgmental or things like that.
And how has Alaska been for you? You've been here 17 years?
A home sweet home.
Yeah, a long time now.
I've been here since 2009. Home sweet home. I love Alaska. Alaska has been good to me.
Hey, Sam, thank you so much for being
You
on
are
the show
very
today.
welcome.
Thank you, listeners. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review us. To contact me, email rep.andrew.gray@aklec.gov or call 907-465-4940.